Speaking of interesting time, I wanted to leave off with this question because this is I feel like about to shake up boxing. The union between Turki Alalshikh and Dana White. What's your opinion on what they're trying to do, and have you heard any rumors as to how this league is going to be run?
Nah, I haven't really heard any rumors. I actually did an interview yesterday with Callum Walsh.
Okay.
He's a Irish guy that he's one of them next like Irish stars. You know, the Irish community, they're real tight knit and they got a guy. But anyway, he's signed to Tom Loeffler, who is in conjunction with Dana White. So I think he's gonna be probably one of those early TKO fighters that everybody's talking to. I say that to say is he's fighting this Sunday for St. Patrick's Day, and Dana White's gonna be there. So I'm gonna run down on Dana White like, yo, what's going on, brother? We got to know what's going on. So I haven't really heard anything. I'll know something Sunday. You know what I mean? But I think it's very interesting. I think boxing is changing in front of our eyes, right? Like we're literally seeing a shift. I think it's too early right now for me to tell if it's for the better or for worse. But one thing we do know is that what makes the sport great is when the best can fight the best. Mm-hmm. I think because of politics, because of network deals, because of exclusivity deals, we've had trouble seeing that because, you know, naturally, right? A promoter who's putting up the money wants to make the most money, right? So it's like, if I can put on an in-house fight and keep majority of the earnings, I'm going to do that. I think that has caused, you know, us not to see the best fights at times just because it's promoter versus promoter. But I think when a guy like Turki enters the equation with an unlimited amount of money, right? Like this guy could just pay for whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think that in order to stay competitive, we're going to have to see other promoters doing things that they may not normally do just because they have to compete against a guy with the big bag. You know what I mean? So I like that Turki is coming and shaking things up. As far as like one belt per division, I don't really like that. I'm not the biggest fan of that. Like I like the idea because one is I like undisputeds of like there's two. Like how do you know who's second or third best, right? It's just a ranking system that we arbitrarily go for. Like what determines who's the next best guy?
That's why I always wanted for like there to be an identification of the lineal champion be more important than, you know, this belt holder. I kind of wish that. I'm not sure if this is kind of what he's implementing. He is the Ring Magazine owner, so I don't know if what he can go and do with that. But from what I understand is he's ringing us into the fifth belt era. I think that's where he's going with this league. He's going to get his own belt, and people are going to fight in this league, kind of like the UFC. The UFC, you're the UFC champion. You're not the MMA champion. So I think he's going to build up his league, and you're going to be a champion. This is going to be considered a world title, and this is going to be the fifth belt we have in this era. I think that's where we're going with it.
I mean, I'm not mad at that. I think it's interesting. I was at the Canelo fight and, the Canelo press conference. Yeah. And Canelo went up to take the picture, and I know it went crazy all over Twitter. He was like, get that WBC out of here. Get that belt out of here.
Get that belt out of here.
I'm like, yo, it's
No, but from what I understand, it looked like Turki said, no problem. Like, yeah, it's fine. And then Canelo just misunderstood and heard no and was like, no. That's kind of how it looked to me.
Yeah, I really interpreted it like, yo, I don't want this belt in our picture. That's kind of how it looked.
You imagine how Mauricio Suleiman must feel not enforcing a mandatory in Benavides and accommodating Canelo for years. And now Canelo's like, no, get that belt out of here. Yes, I'm with this guy.
But listen, man, I think, you know, that's one of the good things about it to me is I think the organizations, one is they take a lot of money from the fighters. Fighters complain
3%?
About that, 3%. Yeah. So if you're undisputed, that's 12% of your purse just coming out, right? Yeah. So that's one. But two, I think we've seen, and I don't want to call it being bored or whatever, like, I don't know the politics of it. I'm not that close to any of the organizations to know and see it. But I've seen fights that should have been ordered, not been ordered, right? And like I've definitely seen things to where us as fans are like, why is this not happening? And for whatever reason or rules that they have. And I think, again, is Turki doing what Turki does along with Dana White, I feel like it's going to have to force these organizations to step up and, you know, really enforce mandatories and really put on these, you know, fights that, like you said, Benavides and Canelo, like that's one that you should have been like, either the guy gets stripped or like the fight has to happen. It's been years. You know what I'm saying?
We want to see that fight.